Hi, I'm Vaughn Palmer here at the BC Legislature in the chamber with my colleague Rob Shaw. The House is adjourned again after a brief summer session. And Rob, last evening, what, about 5:30? Unanimous vote in the House in support of the new 15% tax on foreign buyers of residential property in British Columbia.
Yeah, begrudging support by the opposition NDP. They did vote for it. They tried to amend the bill 8 times during debate. Things like instead of taxing people by their citizenship, taxing based on their income, which had been a plan floated around by academics for a while. There was no government uptake on any of the amendments, and in the end, the NDP were basically forced to vote in favor of this because, as polls are showing, Vaughn, most people are actually in favor of the idea of taxing foreign buyers. There are loopholes and things in the bill, imperfections, but for now, I think government's managed to get the popular idea behind them on this tax.
Yeah, one group that's not happy at all, because we're all hearing from it, and the government admits they're hearing from it, is realtors, people in the development industry. They are saying, well, if you're going to do this kind of tax, you should sort of grandparent in all the people that are already in progress with their deals, even if that's weeks or months. No way, says the government.
There's a quote from Mike de Jong that was buried in the debate yesterday. He didn't say it out in the House, but if he had, I think it would have been the headline. The example was given to him by the NDP. Well, what if a foreign buyer pre-bought a condo and now has to assign that contract away to a Canadian to avoid the tax? And de Jong said, well, basically, mission accomplished. Because that is, at the end of the day, the point of this tax, as the finance minister got around to saying, is to drive and reduce foreign buyers out of the market, collapse their real estate deals, push them out of their pre-sales. It's not how government wants it portrayed, but the end result is they're moving them aside so British Columbians can get a crack at those properties.
And the government's going to be tracking what happens, and they say in real time, which means every few days they'll know what's going on, so there may be more action next month on this. We also had, I thought, big news this week, something that did happen that the government was worried might not. So the Site C dam, the dam at Site C on the Peace River under construction, just passed the first anniversary of construction. For construction to proceed, they needed permits from the federal government. You got a new federal government. Justin Trudeau under pressure from people who don't want the dam and First Nations leaders and environmentalists and Greens to hold up the permits. The Liberals were beginning to get worried. Hydro was saying they might have to suspend construction. Instead, quietly, because they didn't make a big deal of it, on Wednesday, the federal government approved those 2 permits. Premier Christy Clark yesterday thanked the federal government for doing it, praised the federal fisheries minister, Dominic LeBlanc, and said this is the first big decision where the federal government has approved economic development projects in British Columbia. So it's something that, you know, we tend to forget down here that Site C is underway, but it's underway. Hydro told us yesterday, Rob, this means they can start working in the river because it's a fisheries permit and a navigable rivers permit. So yeah. Something else happened this week, and another unanimous vote, too.
Yeah, at the start of the week, actually, we've forgotten about this because it seems so long ago, but there was a unanimous vote to pass transgender rights legislation, enshrining that specifically in the Human Rights Code. Press conference here, everyone was smiling, the Premier was there, both parties, and then when the vote came, the Premier was not in the chamber. She didn't even speak in favor of it. As we learned, Vaughn, she was at a Liberal Party fundraiser in Surrey and had decided to go to that instead.
And she's really sorry.
She is sorry because she took a lot of flack from critics who said, as the Premier, she was the leader, she should have been there to show how important this was. She admits, wrong call, but there is a larger debate that's been going on for a while now. The fundraising efforts of the Liberals, the stipend for the party, for the Premier. How does she balance that with her duties as the Premier of the province? And in this case, the wrong call was made.
Yeah, she said it was a mistake, but she did go to the fundraiser, and she did miss the vote in the House. The House is adjourned again, Rob. I think August be a little quieter, although for sure we're going to be watching mid-August the next release of data from the Finance Ministry on what's happening with those foreign buyers. So we'll have the data right up to the end of this month, and then later in August we're going to get the data on what's happening now that the foreign buyers are paying the 15%.
Yeah, and we will talk to you then.